Today we're going to be learning about an SCP that literally is about berries that make you fart. Let's see. Okay, what? I thought this was about fart berries, not bears and pumas.
Wandering off the path and getting lost for days, the elements slowly withering you away to nothingness. There are plenty of ways you can die in the wilderness.
Yeah,
would expect death
like
to come
fart
as a result
berries.
of a simple
Oh
bodily
no!
function.
Don't fart.
Decidedly anomalous twist.
The bear will find you.
Springtime in the Sierra Nevada.
I can't wait to see what happens.
Beautiful. The unpredictable storms of winter are a thing of the past, but the oppressive heat of summer hasn't yet crept in. The highest peaks of the mountains are still spotted with snow, but in the foothills, the wildflowers sprout from the earth.
That's so nice.
Yellow,
I love
pink,
spring.
Purple,
Everything just comes to life in
Crystal
spring.
Clear waterfalls roar down the rocky mountainsides, water set free from its slumber by the melting ice as the world wakes up from a long hibernation. The summer vacation crowds haven't yet flooded the hiking trails and ski slopes, but a few groups of early adventurers can be spotted hiking through the mountains, taking in the sights and breathing in the fresh, fragrant air.
Okay guys, so as you know, I like to make predictions in these SCP videos, and if I had to guess, we're gonna come across a group of some of these people that are coming out in the spring. They're going around, they're going on some nice hikes, and every once in a while, you know, when you're hiking, you come across a berry bush. And I mean, I'm guilty of this. I have found like a little blueberry bush, and I'm like, oh, that looks delicious. Let me try to eat it, which I do not recommend because they could be poisonous. But I have a feeling that some of these guys or girls are going to come across these berries and they're going to have a little snack. And little do they know, these are the SCP fart berries. And then things are going to go extremely wrong from there.
Among these springtime visitors are a pair of young men, one with blonde hair and one with dark hair.
Okay.
Each wearing a small backpack.
What's
and
up,
carrying
boys?
A canteen of water, not a scuff to be seen on their brand new hiking boots.
So they only
These
have
two young
water.
men are
They don't
on
have
their
any
senior
food.
Spring break from college, gleefully taking the hiking trip they have been talking about since they were
Whoa.
paired up as roommates their freshman
That is a
year.
big hiking trip.
Neither of these young men is especially experienced in hiking, but they have both spent dozens of hours in the library reading up on wilderness survival, on the best ways to pitch a tent and start a fire with nothing more than
Okay,
sticks
so they're
and
like
two
kind of
rocks.
prepared.
The lighter-haired of the two especially prides himself on his knowledge of foraging for edible wild plants.
Oh.
A skill he is excited to put to the test on this trip.
So he's going
His
to find the
dark-haired
berries.
companion is a bit more suspicious of wild plants, frightened by the stories of foraging gone wrong and unfortunate explorers confusing a delicious mushroom for one that stops the heart in minutes.
Yep, you
He has
literally
filled his bag
never
with
have any
provisions, with
idea, so you gotta
granola
be
and
extra
turkey,
careful.
Dried fruits, and cans of beans that he hopes his friend will share with him, rather than risking his safety by gambling on a wild root or berry. Still, his concerns about foraging are soon forgotten as the two proceed further along the trail, passing sparkling waterfalls, bighorn sheep grazing on wild plants, and a bird that just might be a bald eagle soaring by overhead.
Oh my gosh, dude,
The two
I would
are
love to be
lost
out
in
there.
The majesty of nature.
It looks
So lost,
amazing.
in fact, that they forget to eat until the sun is dipping over the horizon.
Okay,
The world
well,
is growing dark around them.
Yeah, you should probably
Out
eat some
here
of the
in mountains,
granola
with
that
no
you
light
brought, or
pollution to
like the
speak
chocolate
of,
bars.
Dark is dark. Even with the help of the lanterns they brought, the two men can scarcely see well enough to put up their tents and build a small fire.
Okay, that
Still,
was a
they
mistake.
remember all of their reading.
So if you guys are ever out camping, pro tip, I'm surprised they didn't do this because they read up on how to camp. You're supposed to pitch your tent before it turns pitch black because it's so much more difficult to do it when you can't see anything.
And managed to set up a modest camp for the night.
Oh, it's actually pretty
The dark-haired
impressive.
man pulls a bag of beans from his backpack and begins to heat them over the flame. He offers some to his companion, but he refuses. The
Why?
blonde man has found a shrub that he
my
recognizes,
God.
weighed down with ripe fruit. This shrub, he explains to his friend, is a species of manzanita, an evergreen shrub that produces berries similar in flavor to little apples. The dark-haired man is dubious. Aren't manzanita berries typically red in color? These appear to
Interesting.
be a shade of brown. Wait. The young man reaches out and stops his friend just before he can pop the berries into his mouth. At least let me look them up on my phone. That won't work out here, his
Wait,
friend
what?
tells him. The government blocks access to the web out here. They don't want you on the internet. It's a big conspiracy. Everyone knows
Okay,
about it.
something's up with
Page
this guy.
unavailable. His friend is right. But wait, he has the ultimate tool to defeat this intrusion on his lunch.
Wait, is it like a VPN?
Surfshark
Wait
VPN.
a second, I've never seen a sponsor on a Dr. Bob video. What the heck? Do they know that they're sponsoring an SCP video about fart berries? That is hysterical.
The wannabe forager insists that he has correctly identified the plant and that these berries will be his dinner.
I don't
The
know. Why
dark-haired
would you
man
not just
shrugs
eat the
and
food
treats
that your
himself
friend
to a
brought?
meal of beans and dried apples, while his friend munches on handfuls of the brown berries. He has no complaints about the taste and does not immediately drop dead upon eating them, so perhaps he was right.
Oh,
These are manzanitas
no.
after all. As soon as the thought crosses the dark-haired man's mind, he sees his friend double over, clutching at his stomach.
Yo, that was so fast.
Afraid for his friend's safety, he rushes to his side, only to be met with a long, loud fart. The two share a laugh, the tension broken by the sudden smelly outburst, but the humor soon fades as the blonde man farts again.
He's still going?
And again, and again.
Okay, he definitely pooped his pants.
All through the night, he continues to emit loud,
all through the
excruciatingly smelly
night?
farts. The
That's
smell
impressive,
permeates the
honestly.
campsite, seeping into the dark-haired man's tent, no matter how he tries to cover his nose with his sleeping bag.
Oh, that is
He doesn't
so
get a wink of
gross.
sleep, spending the night wide awake, staring at the ceiling of
Dude,
his
I
tent,
can't.
silently
There's just
wishing for the relentless
a
stream of
fart
gas to
sound
stop.
constantly in my ears.
But it doesn't. It just carries on until the dark-haired man can scarcely remember a time when he wasn't listening to the maddening sound.
This
Again
is
and again
hysterical.
and again, the endless farts. He clenches his fists
That's so
until the knuckles
good.
turn white, clenches his jaw.
I would
and
totally
grinds his
eat
teeth.
these.
It's enough to drive a man
This is a
insane.
great thing
The
to
next
do to
morning,
prank
it
your
is still
friends.
happening. The blonde man expresses embarrassment, but does not apologize for ignoring his friend's warnings about the berries.
So he
tries to
slept
laugh
through
it
the
off,
night
but
while
the dark-haired man
farting.
does not join him in his laughter.
He was literally farting in his sleep for like 10 hours. That is awesome.
If he had only listened, they wouldn't be in this situation. They wouldn't be about to continue their hike with this rancid, gaseous albatross around their necks. As they pack up camp, the dark-haired man glances down at the tent pole in his hand. One good swing, and he could put a stop to the madness.
Oh my gosh, he's
No,
going to
that's
kill
ridiculous.
his friend
He shakes
just
his
for
head, clearing
farting?
the impulse from his mind. The gastrointestinal distress will pass soon, and they will be able to continue the trip like
Maybe
they
that's
planned.
part of it,
But
guys.
It doesn't pass. Nothing.
Maybe the SCP doesn't affect the person other than making them fart. Maybe it affects everybody around them by A, keeping them awake, and B, what if like the fart gas is different than normal farts? What if it's like a special chemical that makes you extremely angry and disgruntled and like super annoyed so that you kill the person that ate the berries? I could see that happening.
Nothing passes, but the gas itself. The blonde man asks if they can stop for water.
Did he
before
poop
they've
yet?
even been hiking for an hour.
You should try to
He
poop.
isn't feeling very well, he explains. He woke up dizzy and nauseated, disoriented from lying there all night, breathing in the fumes. The dark-haired man wants to say something, to retort that he too was suffering all night, but he doesn't. He just lets his friend stop to drink some water, and they proceed with the hike. Gone is the magic of the previous day, the time before the cursed berries. The men can no longer smell the wildflowers, the crisp mountain air.
They can
There
only
are no wild
smell
animals to be
fart
found,
gas.
Not a single ground squirrel or little bird. Up ahead on the trail, the dark-haired man catches the barest glimpse of a tail vanishing into the brush
Oh.
as a mountain lion runs the other way.
Okay, that's a little
Is
scary.
it fleeing from them? From the stench? He wouldn't blame the beast if it was. They have 5 more days of this planned, and he can feel his resolve beginning to fade. Maybe he can turn back, ask to cut the trip short now, but why should he have to
So
suffer
funny.
just because his friend made a mistake identifying a wild berry? It isn't fair. If he could just get a moment to think without the incessant farting, if he could just have 1 second
Oh
to
my gosh,
peace,
he's
maybe
actually
he could
getting
come up with a
so
solution.
mad.
But no respite comes. If anything, it only seems to get worse. The smell burns his nostrils. The sound rings in his ears.
Oh my gosh.
The blonde man tries to speak over it, to clear the air with pleasant conversation, but the dark-haired man brushes him off with grunts and shrugs. His eyes sting and water. He chokes on the stench. He knows
Wow,
in
it
his
really
heart
is getting
he can't
worse.
take much more of this. When the men make camp for the night again, the dark-haired man's thoughts turn dark. He could just leave in the dead of night while his friend is sleeping, rush off into the wilderness and abandon his companion there, freeing himself from the farts. He tries
Freeing
to justify it to
himself from the
They both have the
farts.
survival skills to make it. He'll be fine. His thoughts of leaving his friend alone in the woods are interrupted by the
What?
sound of chewing. Is there any animal nearby?
Wait a
No,
second.
Surely no animal would approach, given the smell. He
Okay,
takes a look in the blonde man's
I'm a little
tent
bit
and
nervous.
finds his friend eating another handful of those same brown berries.
No.
The dark-haired man flies into a rage,
What?
unable to contain his fury. How could he do this? How could he eat more of them after what happened the first time?
Okay, either this guy loves these berries or the berries make you want to eat more of them, which is why he's doing it. Or he really likes farting. I guess that's the third option.
Doesn't he understand what this is doing to him, what it's doing to the both of them?
He got caught red-handed. That's so funny.
Man insists that it's fine, that the farting can't possibly be related to the berries.
Well, yeah, it definitely is.
At this, something in the dark-haired man snaps. He can't take it anymore.
Oh my god, he's gonna kill him.
He turns away from the tent, throwing up his hands and telling the blonde man to find his own way back. They'll split up from here. The blonde man emerges from his tent, begging his friend not
Look
to
at the
cast him out.
fumes.
He's certain the farting will stop any day now.
Any day?
It seems to grow louder and more potent. The dark-haired
He's starting to charge up his farts. Oh my god, no.
In his hand, hefty enough to do some real damage.
Wait, there's no way he's about to kill his friend over some farts.
Without thinking, he swings the rock at the blonde man.
What?
For the first time in days, the sound of farts goes silent. The air
He
smells
killed
sweet,
him
like
over
flowers, leaves, and
farts.
campfire smoke. He did what he had to do.
I don't know about
The
that
dark-haired
one.
man lets out a sigh of relief, the rock falling from his hand. He glances at the rock on
Wow.
the ground, at the blood dripping down its surface, and realizes the full weight
Well, yeah,
of what he
you
has
just
done.
killed a man for
He packs up the
farting.
campsite as quickly as he can, douses the fire, and dumps the body over the edge
Oh my
of
God.
a nearby cliff.
Is it gonna fart on the way
The
down?
next few days, he hikes back the way he and his friend came, noticing, in spite of his gnawing guilt, that the walk really is so much better without those damned farts. On the way,
He looks
passes
so
that
much
bush,
happier.
That horrible bush, weighed down by the fruit that destroyed his spring break.
Oh no,
trip,
he's gonna
that
do it.
Destroyed his friend's life.
He's gonna do
He
it.
opens his backpack, tearing a page from one of his books and grabbing a pen. He scribbles a warning: no matter what,
Oh my gosh.
do not eat these berries, and affixes it to the bush.
I would take a few
You can
back
only
with
hope that
me.
the
You
next
know,
person
it
to
could be a
stumble on
cool
this shrub
prank.
will see the note and heed its warning. If they don't, they might meet a similar fate. Days later, the park rangers discover the blonde man's body
okay.
and declare the death an accident.
We're back to the
caused
start
when
of
man
the
fell over
video.
the side of the cliff. Some of them suspect foul play, but are unable to find any evidence. All they can find is a strange note on an unidentified shrub and the faintest smell of something foul, like rotten eggs. The two doomed hikers had no way of knowing this, but the fruit they foraged was not from the Manzanita family. It was from a plant known as SCP-4032.
Fart Berries
SCP-4032 is a wide, deciduous shrub characterized by a rounded crown and wider base. It produces a distinct, small, round brown fruit that has been designated SCP-4032-1.
I mean, guys, this has to be the weirdest SCP we've ever seen.
Of SCP-4032-1, this meal will result in intense gastrointestinal distress. I will try to describe this as delicately as I possibly can, but as I have learned over the years in my line of work, the truth is rarely delicate or polite.
Tell me more about the
1 hour following
dingleberries.
the consumption of an SCP-4032-1 instance, the person or animal will begin to emit an excessive amount of flatulence, consisting of elevated hydrogen sulfide levels and a small but detectable amount of methane gas.
Okay,
Perhaps
that
you are
seems like a
familiar
normal
with an old
fart.
rhyming song about the wonders of beans, the magical fruit. These berries
Yes.
function quite similarly. The more one eats, the more one does, in fact, for want of a better word, toot. However, unlike the second part of the bean-based rhyme,
Toot berries.
these fruits do not cause their unfortunate consumers to feel better, nor should they be eaten at every or any meal. The Foundation first
Interesting,
discovered
okay.
SCP-4032 on April 2nd, 2018, after a man named Anthony Green happened upon the plant in the foothills of Northern California. Hungry enough to forget his better judgment, Anthony ate some of the fruit and became immediately concerned
Oh,
for
no.
his physical well-being.
The more you eat, the more you toot.
SCP-4032's effects began to take hold. Fearing he had unknowingly consumed a poisonous plant, he made a distress call to the local search and rescue team. This call was intercepted by Foundation operatives, who swiftly arrived at the scene to bring both Anthony and the
Wait,
plant
why?
itself into custody.
Why would they...
The affected individual will continue.
Why would they go after this guy, the SCP Foundation, literally because he called somebody saying, hey, I think I got like poisoned by these berries that are making me fart? I guess maybe they had prior knowledge of this SCP, but yeah. I can't even imagine how somebody thought of this and was like, hey, yeah, this is an SCP after all. Yeah, they're just berries that make you pass gas constantly.
Continue to produce this.
I wonder if it ever goes
until they
away.
Have expired. Both starvation and dehydration have no impact on the flatulence, and no identifiable source of the gaseous output has been detected via endoscopy.
Ew, where does that go?
If an individual finds themselves in an area without adequate ventilation, they will gradually begin to experience symptoms brought on by hydrogen sulfide poisoning, including
Oh my gosh,
to conjunctivitis.
You can literally kill yourself with your own farts,
and eventually pulmonary edema.
They are
death.
Deadly fart
Shortly
berries.
following SCP-4032's discovery, Dr. Logari began conducting a thorough observation of Anthony Green, referred to as D-14478 for the purposes of official documentation.
Oh, he became a D-class personnel.
Of consuming
Wow.
SCP-4032-1. First, he was brought in for observation and placed in cell 14B on the outside of Site-88. Dr. Logari noted copious amounts of flatulence being emitted by the subject, with high levels of hydrogen sulfide and
Oh my
methane.
gosh, they're so bad,
5
you can
hours later,
see them.
The subject was complaining about gas buildup in his cell, and the interior venting hood was activated. 3 hours and over 50 complaints later, maintenance staff deactivated the interior venting hood and opened exterior windows.
That's so
in an
funny.
attempt to quell some of the relentless flatulence.
Dude, they're making everybody so sick.
D-14478 was placed on an intravenous diet. After 2 days on the intravenous diet and no changes to the subject's gas emissions, medical staff conducted an endoscopy, which revealed that the colon was clear and there were no visible signs of rectal gas.
Where did
the
it
following day,
go?
A staff meeting was held in order to discuss the impact of D-14478's condition on the quality of life at the facility. Both residents and researchers alike had complained about the persistent smell, which
Okay, obviously nobody likes the smell, but we haven't answered the best question. Like, how many of these do you need to eat? Is it just one and then you're gonna fart forever? Or do you have to eat like 10 of these and then you're gonna have crazy gas for the rest of your life? Or if you just keep eating more, does it keep getting more like aggressive? Are your farts going to be nuclear farts if I eat like 69 berries? These are the answers that I need.
they were unable to escape and was permeating the air outside as well as throughout the interior of the building. Several options were proposed, including relocation, treatment, and failing all else, termination of the
Oh, you're gonna
subject.
kill him over the fart.
Resolution was passed
I guess
to
that would be
house
the first time we saw that.
D-14478 in an outdoor facility until proper filtering equipment could be installed. A little over a week later, Foundation agents intercepted reports from nearby environmental watch groups concerning an increase in airborne pollution in the central Alabama area.
Are you
around
kidding
Site
me?
88,
So it
with
does get worse.
D-14478's condition threatening not only the morale at Site 88, but the environment itself.
Holy
An additional
smokes.
resolution was passed in order to transfer D-14478 into an experimental air filtering cell. The cell had not yet passed a safety inspection.
Okay, so he's
Those with
probably
objections
going
were
to die.
overruled by the vote of the majority. The following day, subject D-14478 was found dead in
Oh,
his
but
cell.
yeah, you saw
An
that coming a
investigation into
mile
the cause
away.
of death determined that the primary filter was improperly constructed.
Yup.
And both it and its associated sensor had malfunctioned.
Oh, wow.
There was one silver lining to this unfortunate incident,
The
however.
fart
The
stopped.
effects of SCP-4032-1 mercifully ceased following the subject's death.
Oh my
The
gosh.
post-mortem report was filed with the Ethics Committee, and Dr. Logari was placed on temporary administrative leave. Meanwhile, a large order of scented candles was placed by the staff of Site 88.
This
And soon,
SCP is
the
so
unpleasant odor
ridiculous.
was replaced with
I love
smells
it.
of lavender, vanilla, sugar, and pine. In Dr. Logari's absence, Dr. Carlisle was appointed to the position of lead researcher on SCP-4032. Following the approval of the Ethics Committee, Dr. Carlisle began conducting a series of animal tests using SCP-4032.
Oh.
The first test subject
Does
selected
it work on
was
animals?
the Araucanian herring. An instance of
Do fish fart?
SCP-4032-1 was crushed and added to a mix of copepods and krill, which were then fed to a small school of herring. 15 minutes after the consumption of SCP-4032-1, the herring's
Oh my
usual
God.
flatus production increased dramatically.
I didn't
This
realize
caused great
fish
distress to the
fart.
school of fish, as this species ordinarily uses flatulence as a means of communication.
That's so funny.
Samples
Wait,
of the
wait,
flat-
did he just say that they fart to communicate? I feel like we should start trying this as a human population.
Were taken and analyzed, and were found to contain hydrogen sulfide and methane, though the levels of both were lower than they had been in human subjects. 3 hours after their initial feeding, the herring were euthanized and taken for autopsy and chemical analysis. There was no post-mortem evidence found of SCP-4032-1's effects.
That's so
Next,
weird.
a flock of chickens was selected
Oh,
for
no.
testing. They were offered a handful of SCP-4032-1
These poor
directly,
chickens.
which they refused to taste.
Good.
The fruit was then crushed and added to chicken feed.
Oh, no.
Which was
They've
fed to the
been
chickens
tricked.
With great success.
They've
2
been
hours
tricked
after
by the
eating
fart berries.
SCP-4032-1, all of the chickens began to emit gas containing low levels of methane and hydrogen sulfide. The chickens were promptly euthanized and taken for analysis.
Poor
An autopsy
chickies.
determined that the birds' short intestinal tracts were distended.
What does that
marked
mean?
the first
Does anybody
recorded
know what that
visible
means?
sign of the fruit's impact on a test subject. The next animal selected
Oh
for
my
testing
God.
were brown-throated three-toed sloths. This particular species was chosen due to its lack of flatulence, as these sloths
They
tend to absorb
don't
flatus
fart?
and release it through their lungs, rather than rectally.
Oh, so they breathe
Fruit
out
was offered
farts?
directly at first, but
Interesting.
the sloths rejected it. The fruit was then crushed and ground.
So it
with
looks
a
like
mixture of
animals
tree
are
leaves
smarter than
and
humans
fed
when
the
it comes to
sloths.
eating the fart berries.
Whatever happened next has been redacted from the official Foundation file.
Wait,
But
what?
it was disturbing enough to bring a grinding halt to any and all future testing of
Okay, I have a theory that since sloths don't fart usually, they usually breathe it out, that maybe it just like didn't have anywhere to go and all of the gas built up and then the sloth exploded in like a giant nuclear fart. That's what I'm thinking.
SCP-4032 on large mammals. Any potential animal experiments involving SCP-4032 must be approved by the Ethics Committee in order to prevent another, quote, sloth
incident.
SCP-4032
Sloth
has been
incident.
contained in a cordoned-off portion of the research gardens at Site-67, which consists of the area around SCP-4032's original location. This land was purchased by the Foundation, and a research facility disguised as a personal estate was constructed there. SCP-4032, along with several other anomalous plants, is kept in the garden portion of the site. All instances of SCP-4032-1 are to be gathered from the ground on a daily basis
And then what?
incinerated
Oh,
on site.
okay, yeah, that's
Any
probably for the
employees
best.
found to be using the berries for unapproved personal
Dude,
purposes will be
what?
suspended or terminated from their positions.
He literally
Many
got
animals
caught
wander
with
onto
a
the grounds
fart
and
berry.
consume the berries.
That's
They
so
must be
embarrassing.
captured and euthanized, and their bodies
wow.
incinerated.
Oh wow, okay, that's
Though
a
there
little
is currently
aggressive.
only one known specimen of SCP-4032, the Foundation has a contingency
I thought there were
plan in
two.
place should any additional specimens be discovered. If this happens, Mobile Task Force Alpha 67 Weed Whackers will be dispatched to the specimen's location, where they will uproot it and bring it back to Site-67 to be contained. Any humans that consume an instance of SCP-4032-1 must be contained in holding cells B1 through B5 along the outer perimeter of Site-67. Each of these cells is equipped with 3 air filters containing Thiobacillus thioparus, chemolithoatrophic sulfur-oxidizing bacteria.
Is he
embedded
speaking
in a
English?
mixture of peat and polyurethane. Each filter
Okay.
also contains sensors intended to detect hydrogen sulfide and methane. When the sensors are activated, members of Mobile Task Force Alpha 13, Odor Eaters, are dispatched
Odor
to escort the affected
Eaters.
individual outside.
That's
until
such
the
a
filters
funny
in their cell
nickname.
Can be repaired.
Fart
Currently,
eaters.
The Foundation does not believe there to be any additional specimens of SCP-4032 in the wild. However, there is no way to be certain of this, due to the plant's relatively unassuming appearance and the lack of any information on its origins. It is entirely possible that there are more of these shrubs just waiting to be discovered by an unfortunate hiker wandering off the beaten path. So if you find yourself out in nature with an empty stomach, make sure that you have accurately identified any
I
of the
will
wild
not be
plants you
eating it.
consume. If you don't, you may be met with a fate that is silent but deadly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We have learned everything that there is to know about the SCP known as Fart Berries.